just try screen and allow. Okay. So agenda, the first thing that we'll try to do is kind of we'll complete the uh, DNS talk that we are kind of working on from last session. So that is on last two sessions actually. So we'll try to kind of complete this DNS. We'll also look at one of the DNS attack, maybe. Okay. One of the DNS attacks we'll try to see. And then what we will do is that after once this is completed, we'll try to jump to the HTTP topic. Okay. HTTP and HTTPS, how these things work. So we'll try to understand that. And in this part, we'll be having some labs like to understand the HTTP and HTTPS in a much better way. We'll try to understand, and maybe the labs will be a combination of the Python codes. Plus, maybe what I will do is I will try to use the Burpsuit tool. There's a Burpsuit tool that is actually used for web pen testing. That is something I will try to utilize to understand the HTTP headers in much more detail. Okay, so that's one thing. And the other thing I will try to do is maybe Wireshark tool to understand more about like how the HTTP headers look like in network packets, and how you can kind of understand. Let's say there are multiple packets that do HTTP header, how you can kind of consolidate all those packets at once. Okay, so we'll try to look at all these things today, and hopefully we'll try to kind of complete the HTTP and HTTPS topics, which is I think one of the most important things to kind of understand. So let's quickly resume our talk. So we'll start with a little bit theory and then we'll go with the labs part. Okay, so let's quickly start with the DNS part and let me see what's where we ended up last time. Okay. So before we proceed, guys, is there any questions from your end? If not, there's one thing I like to share is that regarding the videos, I had a talk with the management. So one thing is that the team is kind of working on setting up the hosting of the videos for you guys, which has been kind of recorded till now. And I don't have the current timeline by when it will be available, but it should be available quickly. Like rather than now, like earlier our discussion was that once the course will be completed, we'll share the video, but that has changed now. Even before the course will end, we'll be kind of sharing the videos of what all things we have discussed till now. Okay, so I don't have the exact timeline, but it should be coming in like at least maybe in a week or so. Okay, so that's about the video part. And guys, again, like whenever we have any discussion or you have any kind of questions from last week, feel free to kind of interrupt me at any moment of time and let me know your questions or any kind of concern or feedback. Okay, so now let's start with the discussions. So let me just quickly. So the first thing that we were kind of discussing last time was actually the shared hostings. Okay, shared hosting. Okay, so what I mean by shared hosting, I'll kind of try to resume from there. So let me just quickly see what all things we discussed just last time. So we looked at a scenario where the malware was trying to kind of read tweets from Twitter and all. So thing is that what we are going to do is maybe today we'll try to kind of add, since we will kind of touching upon the HTTP headers and all, we'll try to kind of look at the things how we can kind of get data from HTTP websites and all using Python codes in much more detail. We looked at the DGA algorithms and all, and we looked at multiples kind of like what are the different checks we can do to detect malicious DNS request. like based on age, based on repetition. That is something we discussed. We also looked at how to kind of Python code to kind of get the content of any URL, how we can do that. So we looked at those kind of codes and multiple other details over here, like generating DG algorithms based domains, understanding, getting the data from who is data from the who is for any particular domain. So that those all things we kind of looked at. And there was other also kind of techniques and discussion regarding living of the land techniques that we kind of had just a vague discussions. Okay, so the most of our discussion was based on DNS, and we'll kind of try to continue on that and try to kind of complete that part today. Okay, so now the next topic that we'll try to see is the shared hosting. What I mean by shared hosting. So by shared hosting, what I mean is that let's say one of the things that kind of like, let's say you have to kind of host your domain, okay, and host your domain, and let's say your domain is abc.com, and you have opted out a hosting provider like let's say HostGator. Like there's a website known as HostGator.com. Okay, the thing is that going over there, you can kind of purchase a website, and also kind of you can kind of use that website to, sorry for that. So thing is, you can use that website for to kind of host your domain. And one of the feature over there in that hostgator.com is that you can opt for shared hosting. Okay, shared hosting. So what that means is that what this feature gives you, the feature is that the hosting is done quite cheap. Okay, even like in just 500 rupees per month, you can kind of get a server where you can host your website. Okay, so you can opt for the shared hosting thing. Now the thing is that since it is cheap, so how it is work is that, so there's a single server. Let's say with the IP address something like this. Okay, and in that website, in that server, what you get is that you get a hold of your folder of, let's say your domain is abc.com. So you will get access to a folder which is abc. Okay, and in that server, maybe that server will be hosting different other websites. So let's say there are other person who have opted for the hosting providers, the same hosting provider. So maybe that server, they will be allocated the same server with the same IP address, but let's say their domain is xyz.com. So they will be getting a specific folder that is xyz with some kind of a read and write access where they can put their content out. Okay, so what will happen is that once someone put out the xyz.com, so the content of that xyz.com will be kind of served to the client, to its client, from the xyz folder rather than the abc.com. So what will happen is that, let's say there are hundreds of users like that. So all those users will have different kind of folders. So let's say xyz, or let's say qwe, or let's say fgs, something like that. Okay, now thing is that all these websites, if you try to find the IP address, it will turn out to be same one. So if you try to find out the IP address of xyz.com, it will give you the same website, same IP address, that is 4.5.6.65.24. Similarly, for abc.com, it will again give you the same URL. Now, thing is that this is a cheap way to kind of host your website on a hosting provider where the server is the same one, but the only thing is that is different is that you get a different folders for you. Now, one of the cons of this for us as a security professional is that the first thing is that, let's say so the scenario will be, let's say you got an alert for abc.com. Okay, you got an alert for abc.com, and let's say that the alert says that this abc.com is malicious, or let's say it is used for kind of phishing attacks. Okay, for an example, for phishing attacks, let's say abc.com has been set up by the attacker, and what this abc.com is doing, it is a fake web page of, let's say it's a fake web page of facebook.com, of fb.com. Okay, so what as a security professional, what we will do is that we will try to find out the, let's say we try to find out the